Hi, welcome to another IELTS video. An obvious question students have after learning argument and discussion essay structure is in what circumstance each is used. And that is the subject of today's lesson, which I've entitled How to Decide Whether to Use Argument or Discussion Essay Structure. If you find this video helpful, visit my blog at ielts.com and join us at the forum ieltsnetwork.com. The essay you write in response to an IELTS Task 2 question will typically require you do one of the following. Make a claim and prove it with evidence. Discuss a topic and draw a conclusion. Argue or discuss the advantages and or disadvantages of a topic. Argue or discuss problems associated with a topic and or suggest solutions. Argue or discuss the causes and or effects of a topic, or address more than one question in your essay. The manner in which you respond to these circumstances will vary based on situation. And it is important to note that you will need to be dynamic in order to respond appropriately. So in the next few minutes, we are going to go over how to interpret Task 2 questions and establish the most effective essay structure in response. So as a rule of thumb, I suggest students structure their Task 2 response as an argument essay whenever possible. And the reason for this is that argument essay structure is much more straightforward than discussion essay structure, and thus the grammatical and lexical forms needed to compose it effectively are easier to write. And as you know, it's important to remember that on your IELTS exam, your top priority is maximizing your score, and thus anything you can do to simplify the writing process can contribute to better band results. So in some of the following examples where you could choose either discussion or argument essay structure, I will be advising you to select argument essay structure. So let's take a look at an example question. Television has a negative effect on personality development among young people. Do you agree or disagree? Selecting the type of essay you will need to write requires identifying and understanding the question's action words. So, as you recall, action words are the words in the question that either instruct the student to do something or elicit action from the student. So in this essay question, do you agree or disagree are the words that instruct the candidate to respond in a certain manner. In this particular instance, the action words are asking the candidate for a one-sided opinion, either agree or disagree. Now, although this opinion could be reached following a look at both sides of the topic, the most straightforward and, as I mentioned, the easiest way to respond to this essay question is using an argument essay structure. So this would be the best approach in this instance. Now look at this version of the same question. Television has a negative effect on personality development among young people. Discuss this statement and form an opinion. So in this instance, the instruction words are discuss this statement and form an opinion. The candidate is thus being told to analyze varying positions on the topic as a basis for a reasoned conclusion. So thus, a straightforward discussion essay that looks at both sides of this statement on television and its effects on young people would be the only correct structure, the only correct structural response. So we could not respond to this essay question as an argument essay. Now let's have a look at this version of the question. Television has a negative effect on personality development among young people. Suggest solutions to counter growing TV consumption. So here the instruction words are eliciting suggested solutions that address the problem of TV consumption among young people. The question is not asking the student to analyze the viability of any suggested solution. So there would be no need to discuss any proposed solution, as a means to come to a conclusion whether that suggested solution was viable or not. That's not what the essay question is asking us to do. It's asking us to simply suggest solutions, and in doing that, plausible solutions that would be able to counter growing TV consumption. So the candidate would be best to declare 2 or 3 possible solutions and confidently support these solutions with evidence using an argument essay structure. So that would be the correct approach here. Now have a look at this question. Young people are watching increasing amounts of television these days. Do the advantages of this trend outweigh the disadvantages? So here the instruction words are asking the candidate to conclude whether or not the increasing consumption of television among young people poses more advantages than disadvantages. So both argument and discussion essay structures are capable of producing this conclusion. However, it is once again a situation where the candidate is best to formulate an argument and then structure their essay around that argument. So in the event the candidate, for example, felt there were more advantages than disadvantages, their argument essay would devote at least one supporting paragraph to illustrate these advantages. So well, firstly, if we were to do this as an argument essay, of course, you would have some sort of thesis in the introduction paragraph, and that thesis would say something like, "It is argued that the advantages of this trend outweigh the disadvantages." So their argument essay would devote at least one supporting paragraph to illustrate these advantages. And then a following supporting paragraph would analyze and likely work to prove the disadvantages are minor or invalid when compared to the advantages. Okay, because the ultimate goal here is obviously to show that the advantages side is stronger. So thus the argument essay structure would be the most effective approach to this question. Now in this version of the question we have, young people are watching increasing amounts of television these days. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of this. So this question is obviously very similar to the preceding one. However, your response style will be completely different. So as you can see, the instruction words make clear that you are going to be examining and comparing the advantages and the disadvantages connected to television consumption among young people. So thus you will need to structure a response that allows you to weigh these two areas and then from that comparison derive some sort of conclusion. And so obviously discussion essay structure is the most fitting way to address this question. Now in this version of the question we have, young people are watching increasing amounts of television these days. What are the causes and effects of this trend? So the instruction words in this version of the question require you to declare and prove, or discuss and conclude the causes of increasing television consumption among young people and the effects this increase has. So because it's either declare and prove or discuss and conclude, then either essay structure could be used. So as I explained before, in such an instance, it is 9 times out of 10 best to go with a straightforward argument essay. And this would, in this instance, involve declaring at least one cause and at least one effect in the introduction paragraph, and then showing these to be fact in the supporting paragraphs by bringing up examples that illustrate and demonstrate how the causes and the effects that you're declaring in your introduction are in fact reality, and should and the reader should agree that they are plausible causes and effects of the trend. Okay, the final version of the question is a double action essay question. So these types of questions require you to be dynamic and creative. Regardless of the style of essay you choose to write, double action questions typically require one question to be addressed in the first supporting paragraph and the second question to be addressed in the second supporting paragraph. However, if you're faced with a double action question that asks you for your opinion, as this example question does, so what is your opinion of this? What effects do you think this has on mental development? In this instance, I advise you to address the what is your opinion portion of the question as some sort of thesis. Because typically the second part of the question will cause you to have a discussion that will act as support for your thesis. In this example, I would likely share my opinion as a clear thesis statement and then use the outline sentence to declare the mental development effects. Okay, so this would be addressed as a thesis, and this would be the part that would be first looked at in the outline sentence and then looked at in detail in the two supporting paragraphs. And in doing that, in having that look in the supporting paragraphs, we are supporting the thesis that we would declare as a response to the first question. So I've written kind of an example thesis and outline sentence that would respond to this question effectively. So the thesis might read, I believe that increased television consumption among young people is an extremely negative phenomenon occurring in the world today. Okay, that's the thesis. And as you can see, that directly responds to the first question. What is your opinion of this? Okay, and then the second sentence, which starts here, this will be shown by looking at the effect it has on both attention span and the ability of young people to communicate with others. Okay, so we're sharing two effects that we believe come about as a result of this, and we're going to look at these two effects in detail in the supporting paragraphs section of the essay. And some IELTS instructors may advise devoting an entire supporting paragraph to addressing the, what is your opinion portion of the question. But I feel that in focusing my two supporting paragraphs on two separate negative effects of television consumption, I feel that this acts as a fitting explanation for why I am of the opinion that increased television consumption is negative. So I would not advise a candidate to address an entire paragraph to the first part of this question, because the other sections of the paragraph will do that for you. Now that is in this instance. If you are faced with a double action task 2 and neither of the two questions are asking you directly for your opinion, well then you would probably address one of the questions in the first supporting paragraph and then the second question in subsequent supporting paragraphs, and that would be a much healthier response to the question. But these sorts of questions require that you be dynamic and that you be creative, and you might need to tailor the response a little bit so that it is effective for your question in particular. So I hope that video helps you more confidently choose the essay structure that best fits your Task 2 question. Thank you for watching, and good luck with your studies.